Sometimes it seems that Thanksgiving is the beginning of one long season of eating and overindulging. There's parties everywhere, there's sweets in the office, there's the cookies everyone bakes, and it's easy to go overboard and eat too much, especially things with too much fat and sugar. But if you have a plan, you can avoid all that, and we have got you covered. Today we're going to share with you our holiday eating survival guide. And our guide today to help us with that is Betsy Tecco, who is going to help us with all of this. Betsy is a freelance food and nutrition writer, and you travel to local schools to talk about the importance of physical activity and good nutrition. So thanks so much for being with us today, Betsy.
Nice to be here.
This is something that we all struggle with. There is just so much more food around the holidays, especially junk food.
That's true. And the way we can cope with that is to just have a plan. Start with a plan.
Let's talk about an overall plan for the holidays. I think one of the most important things to think about is our mindset.
Right. A lot of us go into the holidays feeling like I'm just going to let loose, eat whatever I want, and I'll get back on track with healthy eating during January into the winter. But that's not really a good plan. So what you should do is remind yourself that the same foods that are available during the holidays you can have any time of the year. So we shouldn't feel like we've got to eat everything between Thanksgiving and New Year's.
Okay, and I think a lot of people really do think that. They think, let's start the engines, here we go. We're gonna just overindulge. That same type of thinking in moderation, and it doesn't have to be all at once, can work during a holiday meal as well.
That's right. So when you approach the holiday dinner, prioritize. Think, which foods do you most enjoy eating? If you like mashed potatoes, but you have them often, you might want to say, I'm not going to have them tonight because I really love Aunt Martha's spinach casserole. So focus on the foods that you really enjoy and don't feel like I have to have a serving of everything.
Right. I think a lot of people feel like they need to stuff themselves, and it's their one chance to get these things, or their one chance a year. Something that I've started doing personally that's worked well for me is getting recipes from relatives, so that, as you said, Aunt Martha's casserole, for instance, I have that recipe now so that I can make it in May or June or any time, so that I don't have to feel like, well, this is my one shot to get it.
Yeah. Good idea.
How about parties? We're all invited to so many parties, whether it's at school with our kids, whether it's at work, whether it's with friends, and it's so easy to overindulge at parties.
Right. A lot of us make that mistake. And the thing with parties is that you don't want to have to go there hungry, because if you're overly hungry, you tend to eat fast. When you eat fast, you overeat. So beforehand, have a healthy breakfast, have a healthy lunch. And if the party doesn't start till 7 or 8 at night, but you're used to eating at 5, make sure you eat something at 5 so that you're not starving by the time the party food is actually set out.
Yeah, boy, that's a trap that I think a lot of people fall into as well, because so often those parties aren't until later. And during the year, as you said, if you're accustomed to eating at 5, for instance, so many of us eat earlier. And then you get to the party and you're ravenous, and not only do you eat more than you want to, but maybe you make some of the wrong choices, because it's harder to make those good choices when you're starving. I know my stomach sometimes tells me, I don't have time for vegetables, just get me some food. Another key is to watch our portion sizes.
True. Portion sizes are tricky, so make sure moderation is your key. Follow moderation, and one thing that can help is use smaller plates, because a few appetizers might look more substantial if you set them on a smaller plate.
I've read all kinds of studies about this, and that's really true, that our minds do influence the way we eat. And that's a trick that's recommended even for at home during the holidays or any time of the year. Think about using a smaller plate, because you feel like you're getting more bang for your buck, so to speak. How about the actual choices that we make at a party?
Yes, there's a lot of rich foods at parties, a lot of high-fat foods. Try to avoid the processed meats, the cheese-filled dishes, and definitely the dessert table. Go easy on. So instead, look for low-fat foods, and definitely fruits and vegetables whenever you can find them.
Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't have some of the favorites, but we need to just in moderation. Yeah. How about what we do at a party? You say even what we do, where we stand, can influence how much we eat.
Yeah, it sounds silly, but if you stand next to a buffet table, you're more likely to nibble at it. So get away from the buffet table and you'll be less likely to overeat.
Makes sense. How about in our homes? All those cookies that we bake and all those other things that we feel we have to bake every year.
That's true, because baking is a holiday tradition.
Right.
Families love to get together and bake, bake, bake. But one thing that can make it healthier is if you decide we're not going to put out all the batches at once. Don't set them all over the house. Why not freeze some, put them away for later in the season, and then they'll be more special that way.
Okay, how about taking the extras to the office?
Not really a good idea, because then they're there all day for you to walk by that plate and try to resist, and you can't.
Right.
So tell your coworkers, look, let's just pick 2 days and do it then.
Right, and whatever's left over at the end of that day, either
Set 'em
trash
out,
or
give them as gifts.
Right. Another really important thing to think about is just enjoying the season.
Right. Remember the true meaning of the holidays. Enjoy the decorations, listen to music, and just celebrate with your family and friends. It's not all about the food.
Right. There's so much more to the season than that. Oh, okay. Let's review and let's sort of run over some of the tips for our holiday eating survival guide tips. Tip number 1. Have a plan for the holidays and don't just make it an eating free-for-all. Tip number 2, don't feel you have to eat it all in one meal or even all in 1 month. Tip number 3, think about which treats are your favorites and focus on having those instead of feeling like you have to have some of everything. Tip number 4, watch your portion sizes and even consider using a smaller plate to help you out. Tip number 5, get some of your family's favorite recipes so that you don't feel you have to eat all of those in one day and you can make them at other times of the year. Tip number 6, try to choose lower fat items at a party. At least most of your plate could be lower fat. Tip number 7, do not stand by the buffet table all night long. Tip number 8, consider freezing some of the cookies that you've baked. Tip number 9, talk to your coworkers about limiting the amount of treats at the office. And tip number 10, and I love this, focus on the holiday and not just on the food. So thank you so much, Betsy. And for more information, visit our website, pottstownfoundation.org. There's no reason the holidays have to be a nutritional disaster. Plan ahead so that you don't go to parties starving. Think about limiting the number of cookies you keep around your house. Bake them and then freeze them. And think about limiting the amount of splurges you make at a holiday meal. Remember, you don't have to eat it all in one day or even in one sitting.